What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here on my channel. Thank you guys again for tuning in to a weekend watch list. All right, there are going to be about, let's see, about 4 or 5 stocks that I will be focusing on for Monday's trading session. And here are the stocks. First one that I'll be watching is Netflix. Second, Bank of America. Third, BlackRock. Fourth is JB Hunt. And then the fifth one is probably, fifth one will probably be JNUG, J-N-U-G. So again, here are all the tickers from top to bottom. Netflix, NFLX. Bank of America is BAC. Third one down on the list is BLK, that is BlackRock. Fourth one, JB Hunt, which is JBHT. And then the last one, which is JNUG, is JNUG. All right, so those are the 5 main stocks that I'm going to be watching for tomorrow's trading session. 3 of which, BAC, BLK, and JBHT, are going to be earnings plays. If you're not familiar, this is basically the start of earnings season. A bunch of the earnings plays are upon us, so it's about to start getting much more volatile and way more fun to trade than it has been these past couple weeks. Past couple weeks have been slow, is what it is. We're getting now into those earnings plays, so it should be a very, very active couple months here coming up. So very excited. So we're going to be starting off this whole earnings seasons with BAC, BLK, and JBHT. So let's get into the watch list. So I'm going to go over to sharing the screen in which we're going to start looking at all these different stocks, okay? All right, guys. So the first stock here on the watch list is Netflix, NFLX. Now, if you're not familiar, Netflix has their earnings coming out tomorrow on the date of 7/16 in after hours trading around, I believe, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, so tomorrow after hours, so Monday, 7/16, Netflix is going to be having their earnings, okay? So in no way are the earnings coming out tomorrow early in the morning or in the middle of the trading day. They're going to be coming out in after hours trading, okay? So most of the plays to be made, we're going to see a very active trading day come Tuesday. So Netflix should have a really interesting day tomorrow because earnings are coming out tomorrow in after hours trading. So tomorrow I think we're going to see a very interesting and active day in Netflix. So there's 3 things that I think, or 3 ways Netflix is going to play out tomorrow, considering earnings are coming up. So there's really 3 things that I'm considering here with Netflix. So for the past couple days, we've been watching Netflix, and if you tune into our pre-market live streams, which are every single day at 8:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, you would know that I've been watching Netflix for a couple days, and I've been calling out this double top pattern. You can see here it's done that M pattern double top, and we're starting to break down here. So I've been calling that pattern out for a couple days, and it wasn't until Friday last week that we seen a really big red day out of that pattern where the stock had dropped, about 15 or so points on the day. So it dropped quite a bit. Now, regardless, here's the idea. So Netflix on a daily chart, you can see here, this is a daily chart. Netflix is showing signs of a double top bearish pattern. So theoretically, if this is in fact a correct double top pattern and people are going to play it as that, we should start seeing Netflix actually start rolling down and dropping even more, maybe even closer to a price of $370, right around that 50 moving average, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen, but theoretically, if this is a double top pattern, which it very much so looks to be, we should actually be seeing Netflix continue lower. Now, that is all based on technicals and the idea that we are in a double top bearish pattern. Now, throwing that aside, it's very possible this thing isn't going to drop, okay? Stocks can do whatever they choose to do, and we can always go based off of what we're being presented with. So considering the earnings are coming out, honestly, I anticipate that Netflix is going to have good earnings. Since I anticipate Netflix is going to have good earnings, I'm going to be less biased on the double top pattern, and I'm actually going to be more biased towards either a green day tomorrow or a consolidation. So as you can see here, before Netflix went into the double top pattern, we had these about a week or so of consolidation, this area that I'm circling on the chart. We have that area of consolidation. And if you look right now, Netflix's price dropped down right to that consolidation area. I mean, on Friday's trading, let me circle it a little differently. So this is the consolidation zone right there that I just highlighted. And this arrow represents yesterday's lowest price point, and that all is right in the middle of the consolidation zone. So I do believe tomorrow is going to be an interesting day, because either we're going to have a pretty big green day where a bunch of people are dip buying Netflix in anticipation the earnings is going to be great after hours. So let me go in on a 5-day chart here. What I think we might see is something like this, right? I believe, actually let me do a 20-day chart. That'll be better. So looking at this 20-day chart too, let me point this out. Look at all this consolidation right around the price of $395. Okay, you can see that it consolidated in here for about a week's time around $395. And that's exactly where the price started to bounce 2 times on Friday's trading, once in the beginning of the day and towards the end of the trading day. This $395 price point was holding up fairly well. So the 3 things that I think could happen is either tomorrow we're going to see a sideways consolidation on Netflix because people are unsure which direction to really trade Netflix, because they don't know how the earnings are going to be. So the first thing I see happening is either we go through a massive consolidation day where it's a big rally back and forth between people not knowing which way they want it to go because they're unsure of the way the earnings play is going to play out. Second option is Netflix is going to actually bounce pretty significantly tomorrow, where we're actually going to get dip bought and it's going to rise because we have a good amount of people all starting to buy up at this $395 price tomorrow in anticipation the earnings, in anticipation the earnings are going to be really well. So you always have these people that trade stocks and start buying them up before earnings, anticipating that the earnings is going to be really good once it's released, and that's going to boost the share price extraordinarily higher, and they're going to get a good payout by buying in before earnings. I will say this, anytime you purchase a stock or if you're doing an options play, playing on the idea that earnings will either be good or bad is a very high risk, high reward play. Because there's no guarantee that a company is going to have good earnings, and there's no guarantee that the earnings play, even if it were good, is going to have a significant day. So earnings plays are always a gamble to buy or play options before the earnings are released. The more appropriate and safer approach to playing an earnings play would be waiting for the earnings to come out and then playing the stock the next day, or if the earnings are released pre-market, playing it that day once they've been released and the fluctuation has already taken place. Trying to anticipate and bet on which direction it's going to go is essentially gambling. High risk, high reward play. All right, so the second thing I see happening is a nice dip buy on Netflix around this $395 price, for buyers coming in anticipating that the earnings after hours are going to be great and this price is going to push into new highs. All right. The third option I see happening tomorrow is Netflix does actually break down the $395 support, and once it breaks down that, we start approaching some of these previous lows of $380. So we could see it break down $395 and head towards $385s, anywhere in the support area. So let me map this off and show you. So Netflix has multiple support areas. It has one in $395, and then it has another big support here at $390, and then afterwards at about $380. Okay, you can see Netflix tapped $390, bounced $390, consolidated $390, bounced $390, bounced $390. And then it also bounced at $380 and bounced at $380 twice. So it has multiple support areas below $395. So again, the third option I see on Netflix is it breaks down $395 and it ends up turning into a short play down to $390 before getting quickly bought back up of people anticipating good earnings. So tomorrow, Netflix should be a pretty interesting stock to watch. So I'd recommend keeping it on your watch list. And those are the 3 kind of scenarios I see playing out with Netflix. Either a consolidation on $395, a bounce play off $395, or a short play below 395, anticipating a 390 bounce, okay? And then I do see us having good earnings, and the price is going to push up higher. So do pay attention to the way that Netflix trades tomorrow, as it could give you an understanding on which way the earnings play might come out. If you see a lot of people dip buying Netflix up tomorrow, that might be a signal that it's going to have good earnings, because people are starting to buy it up before the earnings come out, okay? On to the next one is Bank of America, BAC. So let's look here. So BAC is an interesting one as well. So BAC is going to be an earnings play tomorrow. Tomorrow morning are when the earnings come out for Bank of America or BAC. So tomorrow I'm strictly playing Bank of America because it's coming out with their earnings, all right? Now, the interesting thing about Bank of America is Bank of America is supposed to miss their revenue by about 12% from last quarter. So from their previous quarter to this current quarter, Bank of America is expected to drop 12% on their revenue side. So they're going to miss revenue by 12% in comparison to their previous quarter. So that's a little interesting. It's going to be curious to see how this plays out. So again, I don't know which way the price is going to go on earnings. I don't know if it's going to go up. I don't know if it's going to go down. And personally, I don't care if it goes up, and I don't care if it goes down, because I am not somebody who buys a stock or buys options for the most part before earnings. I'm just not that person. Why? Because it's more of a higher risk play, okay? It's a higher risk, high reward trade, and there's no point in me doing that when I know I can just wait for the earnings to come out, figure out the direction at that point, and then I can trade that direction. So that's up to you. How you want to do, your trading, it's all up to you. But for me, I wait till the earnings come out. I figure out the direction the stock is most likely going to move, and then I trade it from that point on, because it's easy to do it that way. Rather than try and bet that it's going to have good earnings and it's going to go up, it's a challenge, okay? And let me put it this way. Even though Bank of America is going to be an estimate down 12% on revenue, that doesn't mean you should bet it's going to go down. Just because they're estimating they're going to be at a loss of 12% this quarter doesn't mean that they are going to be a loss of 12%. They could be at a loss of only 2%. They could be at actually a positive. It could end up not being negative and end up being positive. Or what happens if they say, well, we're down on our revenue, but what happens in the earnings report if they say they're down 12% on revenue, but we have good guidance for the next quarter and we're anticipating raising our dividend payout? If Bank of America were to say we're going to raise our dividend payout and we have good guidance and expectation for a next quarter, even though they're down 12% on revenue, their price could go up because people could go, holy cow, they're going to pay out a bigger dividend and they're expected to have a good next quarter. That's good for me to invest right now. And the price could go up. And you thought they're going to go down because they're supposed to miss their revenue beat. So again, earnings can be a very risky thing if you're trying to bet on them before they come out. So in a very experienced standpoint, don't do it. Just wait for the earnings to come out. All right, so Bank of America, this is kind of what I see here, all right? Bank of America has been currently, it has been trending down here. So this is what I see here, Bank of America. We've been trending down. So obviously, stock hasn't been performing all that well since their last two earnings. They really haven't done much. So from kind of going back to the beginning of 2000, just at the end of 2017, so the beginning of 2018, they didn't really do too much. I mean, they had earnings, they kind of hung out around, they had the next one, started trending down more. So in my personal opinion, I think we're going to see Bank of America actually go down tomorrow. Not because of the failed revenue beat, that's one of the things, but I'm anticipating that we're just going to continue in the direction we've been going. We're seeing a pretty good downtrend here on Bank of America, so why would it pick up now unless the earnings are really good? And I don't think their earnings are going to be all that great. So they have been trending down, and if you look at the daily chart here, you should be able to map off a support and a pretty strong one. I'll show you. So back here, you can see it kind of popped and was consolidating right here. And if you were to go straight across, you'll see that we started bouncing right there. So that's that same price point that had a little bit of resistance. We're now currently bouncing off of right there. So this $28 level, that $28 level, it's pretty much the key level to watch for tomorrow, early in the morning. So the earnings will be released pre-market before market open. So we're going to be able to see which direction Bank of America is flowing tomorrow morning. And remember to tune into our pre-market watch list tomorrow morning at 8:30. So we'll cover all these stocks again. So again, that $28 price point is basically the key level to watch for tomorrow. I think earnings are going to come out. We're going to start seeing Bank of America head down. And I think if it picks up in volume and it picks up in steam, we're probably going to see Bank of America come down to retest this 28 level. And then I'll probably look to short Bank of America below the $28 price, okay? Bank of America does not move all that much. It doesn't typically see very, very big days. So to see Bank of America drop below 28 and then head as low as 26, like to have a 2-point range day would be pretty big. I think of Bank of America tomorrow, we're going to see fluctuation of, at market open. I'm talking about market open. I think we'll see fluctuation of $1 to maybe $1.50, swing high, swing low on Bank of America. I don't necessarily see Bank of America having any more movement than $1 to $1.50, which means if you're going to be taking a position, you got to make sure your entries and exits are pretty good because you're not going to get much more play than $1, $1.50 in either direction, up or down. And put it this way, if you look here on this chart, some of the biggest days Bank of America's had would be from, look at this big day here and these few kind of big green reds, right? I mean, like this is one of the biggest days. It went from 32 to a low of 29, 14. So not even 3 points in a day. This one was from 29.34 to 31.29, so about 2 points there, right? So on average, it's average day, Bank of America probably moves about 50 to 70 cents. Considering earnings are tomorrow, there's probably going to be a little bit more volume than it typically sees. So the idea that it could probably move about $1 to $1.25, $1.50 in either direction tomorrow is probably a safe estimate. So again, probably going to be watching Bank of America short tomorrow below the 28 level, considering that's a key level and it's built up a strong support at that price point. So we're going to be watching Bank of America, most likely short bias tomorrow. But again, we'll have a better understanding of direction come pre-market tomorrow once they release earnings. So again, make sure to tune into our pre-market live stream at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow to stay up to date on this particular stock tomorrow. So now we're going to move over to the next stock, which is BLK, which is BlackRock. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here you go. Here is BlackRock. So now let's talk about BlackRock for a second. Me personally, I am expecting that BlackRock is going to have good earnings tomorrow. So this is a little bit interesting because BlackRock is priced at about $500. It's not, I don't typically, not very often will I ever trade a stock that's $500 occasionally, but it's a little higher price. So even for me, it's kind of interesting looking at this stock. But anywho, I think tomorrow, I'm expecting BlackRock's going to have a good earnings report, and we're actually going to see the price gap up and maybe even have a pretty good green day tomorrow. So BlackRock is expected to actually beat or have a revenue growth of 21%. So all in all, BlackRock's supposed to have a 21% increase on revenue growth. So all in all, that's pretty darn good from their last quarter. Now, there's no guarantee they're going to have a good earnings report and the price is going to fly, okay? That's not what I'm saying here. But considering you're supposed to have a 24% increase on revenue, it'd be kind of naive to think they're going to have a bad one. 21% increase is pretty darn big. So even if they don't hit a full 21%, what, maybe 10%? We'll see. But all in all, I think they're going to have a pretty good earnings report. And and to be honest, right? To be honest, it would make sense. I would anticipate they're going to have some pretty good earnings here. So with that being said, enough of that. looking at this yearly chart, this is kind of what I see. I see that back here a few months back, closer to the end of 2017, we had this pop up to like, about, what's that, 480, close to 500, probably like 490. We had this pop up here. That pop up is actually holding as the support currently. You can kind of see that pop, and now it's holding support right there. So, and now we're starting to trend up just a little bit. I anticipate tomorrow morning we're going to have good earnings, and we're going to start to see BlackRock pop to the upside. So I think tomorrow would be a safe bet to watch BlackRock, possibly to the long side, but I'm not even a huge fan of it just because it doesn't typically trade that much volume. If you see here, BlackRock does not trade a whole heck of a lot of volume, so it's not a very liquid stock. And in my means, I probably won't trade it. But for some of you guys, you might, want to trade something like this. So I figured I would mention it. But BlackRock doesn't really trade that much volume. Tomorrow is earnings day, so we might see a slight increase in volume. Volume might pick up a little bit. So if you're interested in trading BlackRock, I'd watch it tomorrow. Now, I do personally think it is going to pop up, and it is going to go long. So do watch it long. It does have a little bit of resistance here at this 520 price. You can see there have been multiple bounce spots at 520 that will now be resistance. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 19, who knows? But there's been a lot of support bounces at this 520 price, which should then act up as a resistance at 520. If the earnings are good enough, we should actually see it exceed 520. But all in all, I would watch BlackRock, possibly bullish tomorrow. So moving on to the next one is going to be JBHT, which is JB Hunt. So let's move over to that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we're looking at JB Hunt, JBHT. JBHT is going to have their earnings come out tomorrow morning, pre-market, as well as Bank of America and as well as BlackRock. Now, JB Hunt is expected to have a 17% revenue growth, or revenue growth, all right, from last quarter. So they're expected to increase revenue by actually about 18%. It's saying 17.6, but again, that's an estimate. So we'll just go with the ballpark figure of JB Hunt increasing revenue by about 17% this quarter. Now, JB Hunt doesn't typically trade all that much volume, but I do think tomorrow's earnings will increase the amount of volume we see, so there should be a little bit more volatility. Granted, it is a $120 stock. It is less affordable for a majority. It's more affordable for the minority, but less affordable for the majority. So same thing with BlackRock. BlackRock is available for minority, and it is not available for the majority. With that being said, I do think that JB Hunt is going to have a pretty good earnings play tomorrow. I think we're going to see a gap up in the morning. And a lot of times with these gap ups, what we'll end up seeing is we'll see the stock gap up pre-market from earnings. It will sell off initially out of the gates, and then it will have a dip buy and go long. I will show you an example of the last time JB Hunt or JBHT had earnings, and it did just that. So tomorrow we're going to be watching JBHT long for a long play. Now, if you look at this daily chart, you'll see that JBHT it's literally right on support. I mean, there's really not much more to it. So I think tomorrow could be a good dip buy opportunity for an expectation it's going to have good earnings. So we'll see. I would expect that JBHT is going to gap up tomorrow. I think we're going to see a gap up. So if you look here, you can see there is a support that's been built up all around this 120 price point. I mean, multiple bounces, multiple consolidation times, right around this $120 price. So if you draw a line straight across, you will see that it does in fact have a nice support built up right about 120. And if that is so, and they have good earnings, we should see this gap up quite a bit. Now I'm going to take you into a different time frame here to show you just kind of the day that it did have. So let's do a 180-day 5-minute chart, and we're going to scroll back until the last time they had earnings. Now, just because the last time earnings played out this way does not mean it's going to happen this time. But the reason we went back is we kind of want to see, or get an idea of what could we maybe expect, what kind of volatility or what kind of movement might we be able to expect JBHT to have if it has a good earnings play. So here, last time we had earnings on JBHT, this thing gapped overnight from 112 to 121. So it almost gapped up $9 a share pre-market. It actually crashed. Okay, it actually dumped out pre-market a little bit, and then as soon as the bell opened, it actually crashed from about $1.19 all the way down to $1.14, and then it squeezed from $1.14 all the way up to $1.21 on the day. So from $1.14 to $1.21, low a day to high a day. Nuts. So 114 to 121, that's $7 a share possible gain throughout the day that you might have been able to capitalize. That would be from low to high, which would have been hard. By gosh, that would have been very challenging. But it does show you here that last time they had earnings, the stock did become volatile. It ended up gapping up. It moved down. It moved all the way back up. So all in all, the way I see it is last time JBHT had good earnings, there was a beautiful short out of the gates from about 120 all the way down to a low of what, close to 115. So there was about a $5 short. Perfect. You could short 50 shares, make close to $200. You could have shorted 100 shares, make close to $500, $400. You short 1,000 shares, you'd have made a couple $1,000s on that initial drop out of the gates. Granted, there's a lot of ifs, and if you do this, you do that, but still, that's a lot of movement, right? And then you could have relonged it at the bottom and rode it all the way. So there's multiple good plays throughout the day here in JBHT on their last earnings. So I wouldn't expect anything else but a good volatile day on JBHT tomorrow. All right, so do keep in mind that JBHT does have a nice support here at 120. It has previous resistance at 125, and then, of course, resistance here at the 52-week high, which is 131.74. Now, let's move to the last stock on this watch. Let's get this video over with. This is going to be JNUG. All right, we're going to focus next on JNUG. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are looking at the stock JNUG. Let's look at a 180-day chart here. So if you're not familiar with JNUG, that's okay. I don't trade JNUG all that often. I've traded it a few times. Don't trade it very often. But, you know, I did think, you know, maybe I should talk about JNUG. I hardly talk about it. A lot of the people that follow me here on YouTube, they always have questions about JDST, JNUG, Gush, and a lot of these different ETF-based tickers. And since I don't really, you know, trade them very often, I'm like, you know, I never really talk about them. So I figured, you know what, we'll start throwing them into the mix. They are a very popular ticker, very popular ETF, and I would like to be able to give my, you know, my experience input on some of these tickers for you guys as well, rather than say, hey, I don't trade it. How about I start trading so I can kind of give my input on them as well. So we're going to talk here about JNUG. So if you're not familiar, JNUG ETF, it's an inverse ETF of another ETF, which is called JDST. I'll save that for another video. Long story short, looking at JNUG here on a 180-day time frame chart, what do you guys see? What I see is JNUG is getting very close to a potential bounce. So I think it's getting very close to a long buy. If you look here, look at all the support that JNUG has throughout this pretty much this $13 to $12.50 range. Support, 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 support. Okay, so multiple different support bounces all around that price point, which didn't look very clear. So let me do it like this, just a straight line across. And redo that from right down here. So now you can clearly see that JNUG has in fact bounced off this $13 price point multiple different times, just multiple times. Okay, and we're getting very close to approaching that level. Now, we might not go down to actually touch $13 before bouncing. We might start bouncing at $13.20, $13.10, $13.30 right now or tomorrow, but we're definitely down towards a good support area on JNUG that I personally think is going to hold up, and we're going to start bouncing off this level to come back up towards some of this previous resistance that it has built up, you know, up towards maybe the $14 to $15 price. You can see we hit 15 last time. We hit about, you know, 16 there, 16.20s, and then we hit as high as almost 17 here, 16.50 maybe. So JNUG, I do believe, is going to be getting ready to reverse and start bouncing back to the upside, in which I do believe we should start seeing a move from about $13 up closer to a high of 14 and even possibly 15. For it to go back and break through the $15 price would be pretty significant. I don't see that happening. I actually see it coming closer up to about $14.50, and I'll show you. So looking here, there is definitely a support that's built up on $13 with JNUG. And it definitely has resistance from 16 and down to 15. There's a more appropriate resistance at 15. The reason there's a more appropriate resistance at 15 is because there's been more touches there. Okay, you can see this. You can see it hit 15 here and dropped. It consolidated 15 there for a while. It hit 15 there and dropped. It hit 15 here and dropped. There was 2 occasions, you could basically say recently, that it broke over 15, hit highs of 16. So those are 2 anomalies where it did break through the support. But other than that, there is a closer support, or sorry, a closer resistance at this 15. You can see 15, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, and then we had it break into hitting 16 twice. So 2 anomalies within the range of 15 to 13. So the average range we're seeing here in JNUG is about a range from $13 to $15. So it has an average fluctuation in there, a rally of about $2 to $1.70 per share. With the lucky occasion, we've seen it pop over 15 2 or 3 times here to tap 16. So if by some random or essentially lucky means that JNUG does break through 15, we'd probably see it go as high as $16 and stop. Based on this 180-day chart here, it shows us that the likelihood of JNUG breaking 15 is not very likely. And then if it did break 15, we're probably going to see it touch maybe 16 and then start falling. But we are being notified that it's very close to this price point of $13 where we're known to bounce from. So I myself have already started adding into a position anticipating a bounce here at 13. You know, my stop on this is probably going to be somewhere down towards 12, 1290s, right around that 13 price point. If I don't feel like it's going to go back up, then I'll just cancel and get out. But I do anticipate we're going to start reversing closer off this $13 level. I could show you the chart of JDST to show you that JDST is starting to hit a resistance, and since JDST is hitting resistance and JNUG is near support, we should both start reversing in opposite direction. But again, that's for another video. This video is simply here to show you that I believe that this coming week we should start focusing on JNUG for a reversal with a price target of about $14.50. The reason I picked $14.50 and not $15 is because the likelihood of it reaching $14.50 and pulling back from that level is greater than us seeing it hit 15 and then pull back. Because you can see here, if I mark this off, the last time JNUG was dropping, it had a bounce and it bounced up to about $14.50, $14.60, which is this little move here. Okay, from the top here at 15 down, a bounce and then rolls back down. That particular area is where we're most likely going to see our next resistance level on JNUG, and that's why I'd mark off that 1460s, because it's more likely we'll see JNUG bounce up to that level and pull back. And this is where we'd have to have enough people dip buy it up, hoping to break through that 1460 to at least test 15. So the likelihood of enough people coming in and dip buying here is what I'm not going to wait for. I'm not going to wait and hope that if we do bounce 13, we hit 1460 resistance. I'm not going to hope and pray, right here where I'm drawing the smiley face. I'm not going to hope and pray that enough dip buyers come in on that pullback to push this price up over 1460, trying to juice this stock up to 15. I'd rather just take my trade, sell and lock in my money here at the 1460, because that's already a good trade from 13 to 1460. That's about $1.60 profit. I'm not going to be concerned with trying to make another 40 cents profit, because that's just too much risk there to try and hold to that pullback or even some consolidation, right? So I do believe we got a nice push coming on JNUG up to that 1460 price point here relatively soon. All right, guys, and that is all I have for you here on the weekend watch list. So I do hope that helps you guys kind of pick and choose some of the stocks you might want to trade for tomorrow, maybe coming up or next week. But again, do remember to stay tuned into our pre-market morning watch list. It starts at 8:30 every single day, give or take. If I'm on late or maybe I'm on early, who knows? But again, 8:30 every single day, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. We go over stocks pre-market, talk about the stocks gapping up, gapping down, any penny stocks that look good. So do make sure to tune into that every single day so you can help get some of the hottest stock picks and get alerted and notified of what's going on in the marketplace every single day. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, do take care, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Thank you. And do make sure to please give me a like, subscribe, and share if you have the time to do so. Appreciate it. See you guys in the next one.